This video is to revise Romeo and Juliet, and we're looking at the characters. There are so many characters in this play that not only will I be going through them one at a time, I'm also going to separate them out into categories. We have the Montagues first of all. We have Romeo Montague, who is our young protagonist and a member of the Montague family, and he falls deeply in love with Juliet Capulet, leading to their secret marriage and the tragic fate. And the quote that I've chosen for him is, "But soft, what light through yonder window breaks? It is the east, and Juliet is the sun," from Act 2, Scene 2. This quote is how Romeo expresses his love and admiration for Juliet, comparing her to the sun and highlighting her radiant beauty. Montague, or Lord Montague, is Romeo's father, and he's head of the Montague family. And then we have the Capulets. Starting off with Juliet Capulet, who's our young heroine, and she's a member of the Capulet family who falls in love with Romeo, and their love becomes the central focus of the play. And the quote that I've chosen for her, "O Romeo, Romeo, wherefore art thou Romeo?" Act 2, Scene 2 is probably the most famous quote from this play. And Juliet speaks these words when she's on her balcony, lamenting the fact that Romeo is a Montague. So wherefore, meaning why? Why are you you? Her family is sworn enemies with his, and this is a poignant expression of her love and longing for him. And we have Lord Capulet, or Capulet, who is Juliet's father and head of the Capulet family. So we have Lady Capulet, who is Juliet's mother, who wants to see Juliet married to Paris. Now we're going to take a look at some of these supporting characters. Starting with Friar Lawrence, and I've said here that he's wise, he's not that wise, and well-intentioned priest who secretly marries Romeo and Juliet, and he devises the plan to help them be together, but his well-meaning actions lead to tragedy. He's not actually all that clever. I've said that he's wise, but what is wisdom? And the quote that I've chosen for him is, "These violent delights have violent ends, and in their triumph die like fire and powder." Act 2, Scene 6. Here, Friar Lawrence is warning Romeo about the dangers of impulsive love and how it can lead to destructive outcome. This quote reflects the theme of the play regarding the consequences of unchecked passion. Nurse, who has a title and not a name, is Juliet's loyal and affectionate nurse who plays a significant role in Juliet's life and decisions. She's always there, helping Juliet decide things. The quote that I've chosen here for nurse is, "Romeo is banished and all the world to nothing that he dares now come back to challenge you." This is from Act 3, Scene 2. And here, nurse is delivering this news to Juliet, and her emotional reaction highlights the dire situation Juliet faces due to Romeo's banishment. So nurse is emotional about this as well. Next we have Mercutio, who is Romeo's witty and energetic friend, known for his wordplay. His death in a fight marks a real turning point for the play's tone and plot. And Mercutio says in Act 3, Scene 1, "A plague on both your houses." Here he's cursing both the Montagues and the Capulets as he dies, blaming their feud for the tragedy that's unfolded. This quote marks a turning point in the play. And then we've got Benvolio, who's Romeo's cousin, and he's a peacemaker. He's always trying to prevent this conflict from getting worse between the Montagues and the Capulets. And we can see that when he says, "I do but keep the peace. Put up thy sword or manage it to part these men with me." So right at the beginning, Act 1, Scene 1, Benvolio is this peacemaker trying to prevent the opening brawl between the Montagues and the Capulets. This quote reflects his character as a mediator. Tybalt is almost the opposite to that. So he's Juliet's fiery and aggressive cousin, known for his quick temper, and it's his death at the hands of Romeo that escalates these tensions. And we can see that when he says, again, right at the beginning, Act 1, Scene 1, "What, drawn and talk of peace? I hate the word, as I hate hell, all Montagues and thee." So here we have this really hot-tempered confrontational demonstration between Tybalt when he expresses his hatred to the Montagues and his disdain for peace. I can't speak today. His disdain for peace. Paris is a nobleman who wants to marry Juliet, and he's unaware of her secret marriage to Romeo. And he says, Act 3, Scene 4, immoderately she weeps for Tybalt's death, and therefore I have little talked of love. Here he's discussing his concern for Juliet's grief about Tybalt's death with the Lord Capulet. This quite illustrates his understanding of Juliet's emotion and his willingness to wait for her love. He's like, I'm not trying to woo her because she's really upset. Now's not the time. And you know what? That's right. It's the wrong timing. And now we're going to look at some of the authority figures. We have Prince Aeschylus, who is the ruler of Verona. He's responsible for keeping the peace in the city. He's quite cross with the Montagues and the Capulets are constantly being at each other's throats. And he delivers the play's final lines reflecting on the tragic events, which are, For never was a story of more woe than this of Juliet and her Romeo. Act 5, Scene 3, right at the end. He's summarising the tragic nature of the love story and the feud between their families. Another authority figure is Friar John, who is working as a messenger, and he fails to deliver the important letter from Lawrence to Romeo and basically messes stuff up. If that letter had got there, then things would have ended slightly differently. And finally, we have a couple of minor characters to look at. Balthazar, who is Romeo's loyal servant and friend. Samson and Gregory, Capulet servants who initiate the opening fight in the play. Peter, who's another Capulet servant who's often seen with the nurse. It's debatable whether or not they're in a romantic relationship, but they're certainly friends. And finally, we have Romeo's mother, Lady Montague. It's up to you whether you think of her as a minor character or not. She doesn't have a lot of lines, and she dies from grief after Romeo's banishment. And that's it. That's your lot. For more Shakespeare revision, subscribe to this channel. There'll be new videos out every week, and check out the playlists linked below.